welcome back to another episode of Reclaiming a World That Works. My name is Christal Duncan, and I am one of the principals with the Whole Human Collective. And today I am so excited about this conversation that I'm having today with Kara Makit. Kara is first of all, she is an executive and team leadership coach. She is also one of our collaborating coaches with the Coaches Collective, and we can maybe talk a little bit about that. And most of all, beyond all that, Kara is a leader. She works with a lot of really interesting organizations, nonprofits, and in the social sector. But she is someone who's passionate about not just leaving a mark on the world, I think, Kara, but actually leaving your mark, but also helping people do better in where they find themselves and where they're at. And that's one of the things that I appreciate about you.
Thank you so
So,
much.
mhm.
Thank you.
So, Kara, welcome to our conversation today. And I would love if you could just tell us a little bit. First of all, I would just love to hear about how you came into coaching really
Oh
quickly.
gosh. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I'm so excited.
Mhm.
Thank you for inviting me to be here. I need to say just very quickly that Whole Human Collective is a place where it feels like I can really truly be in this place of imagining a new and different world that feels
Mhm.
possible and real,
Mhm.
where we're not just dreaming, but we're actually following through and doing. So that feels really incredible and different from other partnerships.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you. Thank
I
you.
have to thank you. I'm
Mm,
really grateful to have this conversation with you and to be part of
thank you.
your circle.
Mm,
What drew me to coaching? I have a background in policy, civil rights,
mhm,
law. I wanted to be a Supreme Court justice here in the
mm,
US. When I was a kid, I was like five,
yeah.
deciding that I was going to do that. And what really over, I will skip forward. I spent a lot of years in advocacy and policy work and organizational development. And I would get to this place where we would just be ready to implement something new. And the leadership team all of a sudden was like, wait a minute, hold on, stop. I know I agreed to this, but now it's real. And it would hold everything up. The work would stop. We
Mhm,
would all of a sudden have to, once it kind of finally hit that their lives would also change and they
right.
would also be moving through processes. Hold on. Who are these people anyway? So I realized that this was something that was happening internally with that person, those leadership teams, and they needed more than just to sign off on these policy changes. They needed to be okay with leading from this space.
Mm,
So I decided I would lean into coaching
yeah.
and pick up a coaching certification just so I could get some skills.
Mhm,
And it turns out that coaching with the whole human method, actually, with Carol Vickers, really changed my life in ways that I will talk about today because my neurodivergent journey and understanding of nervous systems and brains and human development is very much intertwined with my understanding of
mhm.
the art and science of coaching.
Okay. Okay, so thank you. That's, I love all of that. And this is what I appreciate about you too, because I see you bring this lens to the conversations that we have and when we coach together. And it adds an entirely different dimension to the conversation. So I appreciate that. But I would like to dial it back a little bit because there is recently you had an experience. So you talked about being neurodivergent, and we're going to dig into that. But
Yeah.
first, I want to invite you to kind of set the scene for how you and I ever started to have the conversation around
Yes.
neurodivergence as coaches, as leaders, how to work and understand better how to connect with people with neurodivergence. So I would love for you to share that experience that
Yes.
kind of led us to this conversation.
Of course. Thank
Hmm.
you. So, as I mentioned, for
Yeah.
context, I am a leadership coach, works in the social sector,
Hmm.
and I have a background of working with teams with organizational development, training,
Yeah.
curriculum, adult learning, all of that stuff. So, since I had been doing that work for years, I thought, let me pick up a formal team coaching certification. I want to learn new skills, new competencies, and be better at what I do. I signed up for a team coaching course with an international, really well-known coaching
Hmm.
school.
Yeah.
And it was an international cohort. So pretty small class by the second semester. There were 8 other people in our class. And
Hmm.
since we're doing team coaching, we of course break into two groups of 4,
Hmm.
because we're going to be practicing what we're learning both in and outside the classroom. This
Yeah.
is a Zoom classroom. So I meet with my people, and it turns out the 3 of the 4 of us are neurodivergent in some way. And I'll skip kind of the details around how we figured that out, but we had really meaningful conversations in our group around what that means for how we show up, how we communicate, how we can support each other. And we had a neurotypical member who was
Hmm.
so curious and supportive and wanting to create a place where she is also included and
Great.
understood. Great experience. So we have this move fast forward into class 3 or 4, and we have an in-class exercise where one team will be the client,
Hmm.
the other team will be the consultant team coaches.
Okay.
We are supposed to engage in an interview where we share, client team shares their needs, team coaching, consultant team ask questions, and then they will go away into a breakout room, develop a scope outline that they want to propose, and
Hmm.
then come back to us. We will then engage in dialogue feedback,
Hmm.
switch roles, right?
Right.
Exercise. We start as the client team, and my colleague shares a little bit about the project that we had been talking about in our team meetings. It's required by the course to have a team project.
Yeah.
Shares a little bit about what we're thinking about. And then in the middle there said, also, our team has a number of neurodivergent members. We have neurodiversity on our team.
Hmm.
And the consulting team said, okay, great. When do you need this done by, et cetera, et cetera. They go off, they deliberate, we come back, we're like ready to talk about what they have in store for us for their
Right.
scope proposal.
Yeah.
And they said, so deep breath, we decline to work with you. We're like, wait, can you do that? What's going on? Like, what? 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 First of all, this is a classroom exercise. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what?
Wow.
And my poor colleague, I could tell that they were so uncomfortable.
Of
They said
course.
the reason why is, one, because the timeline is unfeasible, and two, because we don't have the special needs for working with neurodivergent people. I can't remember the exact wording, but that was the message, that we don't have the special skills and needs on our team to be able to work with y'all. And exactly that. I think everybody sat back, or it's it's a shock, it's a surprise,
Of
I'm sorry, what's
course it
happening?
is.
And
Yeah.
so for me, we engaged in a very spirited and healthy,
Hmm.
real
Hmm.
conversation together. And my instructor was a good facilitator. But here's what I want to raise up, what was upsetting and what I needed my other colleagues to hear.
Yeah.
One, the reason why this is a microcosm of what happens in systems and institutions and workplaces, right?
Every day. Yeah.
We're asked, we're told and cajoled to disclose if if we're
Mhm.
neurodivergent or
Yeah.
have a disability, etc., and so that our needs can be met. And then the moment you do, the chemistry changes, the atmosphere
Right.
changes, the opportunities get withdrawn,
Yeah.
people's perception of you changes. All of a sudden, do you look like leadership material? I don't know. Now I have to worry about you. Now I have to worry about, am I giving you special treatment? Now I'm
Hmm.
all of those things come into play, and it's a microcosm of the structural discrimination that people who are neurodivergent are facing in the workplace. So that was one that troubled me, that I wanted to make sure that my colleagues understood. I'm upset about this structural inequity that's playing out here.
Right.
I don't feel rejected. It's not a person. It is
Yeah.
the structural thing that is troubling me.
Yeah.
The other thing
Yeah.
that troubled me deeply was I did not expect this from coaches. You know what I mean?
No.
That's why
No.
it felt
That's,
okay to share,
yeah, exactly.
right? Like, coaches talk about a group of humans who understand human development and learning, who are trained to ask questions. We got no zero follow-up questions in that interview.
So they just to sorry, just to
Yeah,
clarify,
please. Yeah.
they were just like, we're not equipped. Like there was no
Like,
further
literally, I think there might have
conversation.
been the hand. I
There might
think
have
there
been
might
the
have been
hands like,
body
we're
language
not
to,
equipped.
yeah,
No understanding,
no questions.
no questions, nothing. That is,
Like, think of the questions that immediately come to you
Yes, of
when someone
course.
says that, right? We're
Yeah.
trained to use our client's language and
Yes.
then ask what that means to them.
Right.
For neurodivergent, okay, what does that mean to you? What
Right.
like
It's
help
not a
help us
monolith.
understand. Exactly. Help us
Yeah.
understand what does that mean for our relationship as a coach? What does that
Right.
mean for you all, how you work as a team?
Yeah.
Any of those questions would have been perfectly welcome, appropriate, right? So
Yeah.
it was very confusing to me that I was working with coaches who just, it felt like we were completely written off.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that didn't, it felt, again, I'm going to go to the systems lens.
Mhm.
I'm worried about the injustice and how
Yeah.
this plays out, but at scale.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Understandable.
the the wrap up to this is we did have a very frank conversation in class that continued.
Mhm.
And what it did was galvanize my team to create, we were like, look, we recognize that this is a gap in knowledge and understanding.
Mhm.
I do not
Mhm.
demonize my teammates. In fact,
Yep.
that team ended up being really thoughtful and supportive of what came out of this, which is my team developed a free workshop for, we'd love to bring it to ICF chapters, associations, anybody who leads, facilitates group processes
Right.
to
Right.
help just raise awareness of this is real. We're just talking about how people's brains and nervous systems work differently. That's all. It's not a right or wrong or
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
specialized knowledge. It's just and then concrete ways that you can design your processes that work for everybody. It's not
Yeah.
special treatment. It's just there are certain things that work for more brain style, like brain processing styles.
It's not special treatment. It's and this is not even intended to be a pun or
Yeah.
anything. It's the whole human perspective,
Yes, exactly.
right? Like
Exactly.
it is actually saying, okay, so you as a whole human are showing up with
Yes.
all of these elements that are a part of how you show up in the world, how
Yes.
you process the world, how
Yes.
and how you're communicating back out to the world. That's all it is.
Exactly. It's all it is. It's neutral.
It's
In
neutral.
fact,
Yeah.
we focused on neurodiversity in teams as our unit of education because neurotypical people are included in that. The
Yes.
best definition I've
Neurodiversity. Yes.
exactly
Yeah.
like the best the best definition I've heard of neurotypical is a neurotypical person has a brain that functions in the way society expects.
Yeah.
Period.
Period.
The rest of us, and and there is lots of nuance and different
Mhm.
levels of support. And
Yeah.
I do not speak. I know you know this. So I just want to say this
Yeah.
for all of us. In no way am I speaking of neurodivergent people as a monolith. There's all
Yeah.
sorts of different ways people have different feelings about whether it's a disability. To me, I think it's neutral. It's just
Mhm.
different brain and nervous system
Yeah.
process
Mhm.
systems. And the disability comes in because the systems are not prepared or considered,
Right.
right? Considering the different needs of different people.
Yeah. The
That's
disability is
when it becomes
created by the systems.
exactly the
Yeah.
disability is created by the system. That's a perfect
Okay.
way to say that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That totally, ooh,
For me,
yeah. Yeah, I understand. I understand. I really appreciate this, Kara, because I think that for those of us who have never questioned our neurotypicality or thought about anything from a different processing or perspective,
sure.
I think that neurodivergence can be intimidating,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
It can be intimidating, and it can also be almost not understanding that those people responded that way, that group, but
Yeah.
it is almost systematically predictable that that's how they would have
Yes.
responded,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I guess I'm wondering if you can help us understand, first of all, your have you always been aware of your neurodivergence? Was there a moment when, can you help us understand that a little
Sure.
bit?
Yeah. Gosh. So no, I was not always aware of
Mm,
my
mhm,
neurodivergence. This is something that happened. This is why I link my understanding of coaching with my understanding of neurodivergence, my own,
interesting.
and that I do deep dives around how brains and nervous systems work, because
Yeah,
to me they are all kind of this circling the same piece of human understanding.
yeah. Hmm.
Let me take a step back. So no, I discovered or I picked up cues to my neurodivergence in community, of course.
Hmm.
Because if I look at a list of DSM,
Yeah,
categories about
yeah.
how you would describe, for example, ADHD. I don't have a deficit in attention. I can sit here and work on a proposal that's due at 5 o'clock, and there can be a whole entire drum set next to
Mhm.
me with somebody
Mhm.
going to town, and I won't notice because I
Right.
that's called
Mhm.
hyperfocus.
Yeah.
So to me, that didn't make any sense to me. That is a big hallmark of neurodivergence. But when you read a list of symptoms that are kind of bloodless on a page that don't capture the human experiences, I didn't see myself in that list.
Yeah. Hmm.
What I did see myself in is I joined a group of entrepreneurs that are justice spaced, justice centered, and there was a group chat. And someone took a picture of this book called Divergent Mind
Okay.
and said, hey, I know stats show that we are overrepresented in entrepreneurial communities. So I know there's more of us here. Roll call and introduce themselves. And then as the comments poured in and people shared their own stories of this dawning of realizing that that they are neurodivergent, I was like, wait a minute, why is my life on this page?
Hmm.
And it was very, gosh, it took me a minute. It took me aback.
Hmm.
I had I had only, oh God, the number of years that I had fought to that point to not be seen as quirky, to not be seen as
Mm.
I hid all of these things about myself
Yeah.
that I just thought were weird things that are shameful things that I do.
Mhm.
And I don't want that to interfere with people seeing me as a confident leader with executive presence and yada yada.
Mhm.
So I was like, wait a minute, hold the phone. So as I start to go, wait a minute, is this describing me? And I started to explore people who shared their real life experiences and what this looks like on a day-to-day basis. That's when I started to really start to accept, like, I think this might be me. And then so
Yeah.
that's my short answer to how I
Yeah.
started. And I was 42.
Okay.
So it was definitely, and that is so common.
Hmm.
It's more common now. I hear a lot of people
I
saying
think so.
everybody's neurodivergent now. I'm like, people are starting to share more about what daily life looks like, and we're
Right.
seeing each other's
Yeah.
experiences
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
those descriptions. So I feel like that's really healthy,
Yeah.
better than a medicalized model of it.
Yeah. I I feel like it's also very true to our human experience. The medical model is obviously important.
Sure.
And obviously we wouldn't be able to even have this conversation right now without
Yeah,
that the
yeah.
medical models, obviously. But there is such an elemental part of the human experience itself. And
Yes.
you mentioned so many really big things right there in a couple sentences where you're like the shame of it, the confusion.
Yes.
I was trying so hard to be this person, but it's
Yes.
like you're wrestling against yourself, but not really because you truly are at peace with yourself, but you're kind of pushing against the world, all of those elements. So first of all, this needs to be a second conversation that we have in another episode. So I hope that you will
Great.
have another
Of
episode,
course.
another conversation. But as we're kind of coming around the corner on this conversation right now, I would love to hear from you,
Yeah.
from your perspective of someone who coaches from within neurodivergence of
Yeah.
whatever that looks like for you, but also someone who sees those people and helps them be seen.
Yeah.
What are some suggestions that you would have, maybe from the perspective first of if you were a leader, right?
Yeah.
So and you either suspect that you have some neurodivergency with your team, or chances are, statistically speaking, you do. But what are some
Yes.
things that you would like leaders to know about what that means?
Yes.
Hmm.
Ah, first of all, I love this question, and I am compelled to say at least 1 in 5 adults have
Hmm.
neurodivergence. So guaranteed that there is neurodivergence happening,
Hmm.
whether or not people know it or not,
Right. Yeah.
on your teams. I would say that this is a strength
Hmm.
to harness, and it's also a responsibility. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I think
Yeah.
that goes for any, I don't say that just for neurodiversity. I say that
Yeah.
for recognizing
Yeah.
racial
Hmm.
diversity,
Hmm.
cultural diversity.
Hmm.
Like you're as a leader, your job is to create a space for people to bring their brilliance together,
Hmm.
share their perspectives so that you can get the best ideas out in the world.
Hmm.
And a
Hmm.
lot of times I hear conversations with leaders who are talking about character. making assumptions about motivation, making assumptions about things that are really not about processing style, which is neutral, right? But
Right.
rather assigning value, moral judgment, etc., to
Hmm.
various styles and traits of how people show up. So
Hmm.
one is that you have on your hands a strength and also a responsibility to create
Hmm.
space for these ideas to come out.
Right.
Two, there are techniques that you can use. And I would love to share, Crystal,
Yes,
just a
please.
preview of
Hmm.
that workshop
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
I mentioned before in our comments or wherever
Yeah.
makes sense. Because there are small techniques. It's not our job to ask for diagnosis. Leaders,
Right.
coaches, all of us,
Yeah.
HR
Yeah.
people, unless someone wants to provide it, you can work around different techniques that work for more brains
Yeah.
without ever asking people to
Yeah.
disclose anything
Yeah.
about
And I think a
themselves.
diagnosis, sorry, I just
Yeah,
wanted to do
please.
this.
Come on.
I think a diagnosis is almost like a bypass around things.
Yes, yes.
Because if I get
It's
a
a shortcut.
diagnosis, then it's a shortcut, it's a bypass. If I just tell you
Yes,
what the diagnosis is, then I can get something really quick and then it's like done and dusted, check that box. But this is
correct.
what we're talking about is what we're talking about true leadership, thinking like
Yes,
someone who
yes,
is a
yes.
leader and looking to connect and lead that person into the best version of themselves as well.
A
So
hundred
that's what
percent.
this is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
Hmm.
And I really appreciate that you named that as a shortcut because I think we do it too as
Yeah,
neurodivergent people.
sure.
I know I come in and say,
Mhm.
so one of the things I model for my clients sometimes when I think I suspect, I'm like, oh, I feel like you're one of me, but I don't want to ask you. I don't feel
Mhm.
like it's relevant. But small example, someone will come in. I don't know why I can't just get my timesheet done. I don't know why I can't I should be
Yeah.
able to do this super simple thing.
Hmm.
And I don't know what, and there's like such shame. And that
Yeah.
to me is an opportunity to storytell and connect
Right.
and say,
Yes.
you know what? It's some of the things that people we call small are actually not. And I'll share a little bit about me. But
Hmm.
I have also been in spaces where I'm like, man, that's my ADHD. So anyway, da, da, da. And I don't know that the other person knows what on earth I'm talking about. So we
Right.
use it too. So what I
Right.
hear in your the point that you just put on that is it's on leaders, I think, in particular, to be curious and
Yeah.
go
Hmm.
beyond
Hmm.
what you're hearing from the other
Yes.
person so
Yes.
that you are clear why are they telling you this?
Hmm.
Why does it matter for team communication? Why does it matter for
Right.
processing style?
Hmm. Hmm.
What does help them? So
Yeah.
for leaders, I think it is a responsibility to ask more
Hmm.
of those questions, or
Yeah.
at least create space for that person to explore the
Yes.
answers to
Yeah.
everybody on your team to answer those
Hmm.
questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So then, so some of the things then that you would say that would be helpful for the leader.
Yes. You know, there are small things that I think a leader can be aware of in team dynamics that
Hmm.
become really important to different processing styles that
Okay.
just require a tweak.
Hmm.
So, for example, very common way to run meetings is we're going to get together and brainstorm, we're going to ask a question, then everybody's going to come off mute and share their
Yep.
thoughts and their ideas. There's research behind this in kind of the adult learning and curriculum development world, not just to deal with neurodivergence. There's research that shows that if you make a small tweak, which is we're going to all have this discussion, but before you shout out your answers, we're all going to take 2 or 3 minutes and write them down first. Write down your thoughts. That
Oh.
works for all processing styles. I am actually a verbal processor. So I am learning what I'm saying kind of as I'm in conversation with you live. That
Yes.
is not representative of everyone, neurodivergent or
Yes.
not. Lots of people need to process internally. And what the research that I saw showed is it also works for the me's. It also works for the
Yeah.
external processors. It does no harm. It's either
Yeah.
benefits or is neutral. So a small thing
Wow.
like that then create space. Second thing to do with that is then once you have people have written down their ideas, you open up multiple channels to contribute. So some
Mhm.
of you come off mute, some of you write stuff in the chat or digital whiteboard,
Right.
but multiple points of entry, which is something my colleague Altoni Lewis uses, is really important to create different ways for people to engage in a way. Like if you want people to engage naturally with their brilliance, we don't have to prescribe the channel. We just need to get it out there together so it can be seen and
Oh,
talked about and
yeah.
discussed.
Yeah. Wow. Ooh, that was like a right there.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
small things.
Small
We're not
tweak.
asking you to
No,
that's not special treatment. That's just
no.
little, this is,
That's
you're
just
going to
little
get better
things.
results out of
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. There's an
There's a
amazing,
lot of little ways.
a
Sorry, please.
lot. Yeah, no, sorry. It just makes me think about one of my favorite proverbs, and I think it's a Persian proverb, but don't quote me on that, is that big doors turn on small hinges. You will never see a hinge that
Ooh,
is bigger than a door.
thank you. That's
Isn't
good.
that profound? And this is what we're talking about right now, is that it doesn't, but we approach so much of this thinking it's a big door and I need like
Yes,
do all these big things. But a big door doesn't move another big door. Like you don't need it doesn't need to be that. It's
I
the
love
small
this.
hinges that turn
I
it
love
and
this.
open things, right? That create the ease of entry and the
Yes,
flow. That it's
yes.
those small things. And so this is what you're talking about. And so I think that as we think about, what we would offer leaders is the fact that if this is the first time you're thinking about
Yeah,
how to lead and connect with neurodivergent team members, the first step is just remember this is a small hinge on a big door. Like if
absolutely.
this is the first time you're showing
Absolutely.
up to this conversation, that's fine. You're here. That's what matters. You're learning this right now, and you
Truly,
can start
truly,
now, and it will start
truly.
to literally you'll start to see the changes, and your team will be all the more whole because of it, and you as a leader.
100%. 100%. I'm so moved by it, and I love the way that you shared that. And the little tag on I will say is that's also how culture is made.
Yes.
Team
Yeah.
organizational culture, it's in the tiny moments. It's
Yeah.
not the big all staff executive presence. I'm going to make a
Right.
big announcement. It's
Yeah.
how are you available to your team members?
Hmm.
How do you respond when they share things with you?
Yeah.
How you conduct your meetings?
Yeah.
Those are the invisible mo components of culture. So
Completely.
I love what you just said. And
Mhm.
and that gives you such freedom because you can change little things
Yeah.
at any time and you can
Exactly.
play and you can
Yeah.
experiment and it doesn't have
Yeah.
to mean anything more than I'm playing and seeing
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
lands and what feels good.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good, Kara. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we could be talking
Yeah.
about this for hours
Yes, of
because
course.
it
Yeah.
is so it's interesting, but it's also so incredibly helpful. So, and we will have a part two of this
I love that.
conversation.
Yes.
I guarantee you. But as we're leaving this conversation right now, what is one thing that you would like leaders to know from the perspective of another leader who is neurodivergent, but not defined by that? It's just
Yeah,
one of the
yeah,
ways,
yeah.
it's just how you process. What is something that you would like them to know?
You have what you need.
Mm,
You might be able to have bolstered by tools or sentence stems or ways to engage, but I bet the most important tool is your ability to connect with the human in front of you and just listen really deeply to what they tell you. I think our job is not to change or fix. I think our job is to create the less friction for people to be able to be brilliant with
mm,
you and with their teammates. So it's almost like counterintuitive, but to how people have been modeled management and leadership.
mhm.
And I think it goes with coaching, which is some of the most powerful conversations are you not needing to have the answer.
Right. Yeah.
So you're not going to be able to have the answer necessarily, and that I hope can feel like a relief
Hmm.
and like opportunity instead of something that feels like a barrier.
Yeah. Ah, that feels like a really fantastic place to
Thank you.
close this big door on a small hinge today and close this
Love that.
conversation. Thank you, Kara. Can you tell us where people can find you
Sure,
and your work?
absolutely.
Hmm.
Of course. My shop is called Liminal Spaces. Liminal Spaces LLC.com is
Hmm.
the address. You can email me directly at Kara@liminalspacesllc.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I love to connect. One of my
Hmm.
favorite things is connection. It's part of my methodology of how I live into purpose.
Hmm.
So please, I love having conversations with no expectation of selling or
Mhm.
anything like that. I just want to
Yeah,
know what's possible, what people are thinking about.
love
So
that.
I love that. And I can also connect you to if people are interested in bringing that free neurodiversity in
Mhm.
teams workshop, which is
Mhm.
about 90 minutes and interactive. I encourage you to email me, inquire. Again, it's free. We
Yeah.
do want to hit coaches, but also facilitators, learning and development
Mhm.
professionals, leaders who want to have thoughtful team
Mhm.
atmospheres. You're all welcome, and we are thrilled to
Wow,
be able to share this.
that's amazing. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And for those of you who are still here in this conversation, don't forget if you've enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and we will catch you in our next episode here at Reclaiming a World That Works. Thanks for joining us.